Okay, here we are. We're at the park of Rama 9, and that's the previous king of Thailand. Not the present one, but the previous one, the one that was very popular. And here, this is actually a Saturday, and we're coming up here on the 20th of August 2022. And the first thing we're going to do is feed the fish. That's right. So let's see how hungry these fish are. So here we go. Let's take a look. Looks like we'll throw one piece of bread in there and see what happens. I see them there. Here we go. Here they come. Now these are not catfish. They look like carp. And certainly they're very interested in the bread. And this is probably one of the standard feeding areas, so they're waiting to be fed. And as I look at those carp, some of them are pretty good size. And there with a little larger piece of bread, they really fight for it. Well, they pulled it underwater pretty fast. So, here, we'll go ahead. Now, we'll save a little bread and see what kind of activity we have in the main lake. But I think what's happened is just under this bridge, they're highly concentrated because they're expecting to be fed. So they don't go very far away. Now, one thing about Thailand is that the water temperature is probably around 85, 90 degrees because the ambient temperature here is usually a high of 85 during the day and a low of about 85 at night. So 95 during the day, 85 at night. To experience a temperature in the 70s in Thailand is very unusual. One of the things that's interesting is even during a rainstorm, the rain is very warm and it's actually refreshing during the heat of the day. Alright, here we are on the other side of the footbridge, and it didn't take the fish long to figure out I'm standing on the other side. And what am I feeding them? It's good high quality bread. It's supposed to be expired, but it's just handling it, it feels awful fresh to me. So as far as these fish are concerned, this is fresh bread. Whole wheat. And as I look at the fish, it seems they're all the same kind. So we see that type of carp. All the same kind. All right, now we're going to save a couple of pieces because we're going to go to the main lake and just see what kind of activity we have there. Okay, here we're walking along the walkway, and they're liking to use this zigzag brick and these paving bricks or tiles. And these are very popular here. All right, there's a inexpensive, modest fee to come into the park, and obviously what that's doing is paying for the upkeep of the park and the security of the park. We're not in downtown Bangkok. This is actually to the east of the city. There's plenty of parking, and the park is pretty good size and has a nice big lake. One thing that's interesting here about this park, now on some of the parks they are trying to be very green and recycle conscious. So you'll notice that I have glass bottle, and then I have food waste and other waste. Then I have aluminum can, plastic bottle, paper bag, and then I actually have a medical waste container for any type of diabetic syringes or any type of hand sprays or anything that would be a biohazard. Now, our medical waste container is for the COVID test kit. Now, I don't know why you'd perform a COVID test right here in the middle of the Rama 9 park, but you've got a waste can there for the result. While in Thailand, one thing that I haven't really seen is a lawnmower. But I'm sure they have a lawnmower so they can control the length of the lawn here. Often here in Bangkok it rains every day, especially during the months from about May through September. And that would be their monsoon. Now it looks like it's going to rain shortly. One thing we are seeing, I do see these sprinkler heads, but I think these sprinkler heads are temporary. They can be installed and removed, because it seems like it's many times of the year here. I don't know why you'd want to try and water a lawn, as it's going to get watered every day. Okay, I just came up on a monitor lizard that there was on the bank, and it actually looked like an alligator, but no, that's a monitor lizard. If I had been quieter and wasn't startled, you might have been able to get a picture of him, but we see him swimming away. And we've seen monitor lizards here in Bangkok before, specifically in the canal. He's not a real big one, but he is definitely a monitor lizard. Okay, here we're coming around the pond with the temple there right in the center. There's no bridge or walking access to it. If you want to get to it, you're going to have to either wade or use a small boat. And here we're approaching the side of the lake, and the path goes all the way around the lake. And they actually have two sets of boats. They have the Suan boat and the duck boat. And one thing is that if you rent a Suan boat, you have to bring your Suan boat back to the Suan dock, and vice versa, duck boat to the duck dock. Okay, here we're at the park. I don't know whether you want to call it the office or the small recreation center, but there's a S&P restaurant, and then of course there are restrooms. One thing about the restrooms here, though, is they're not free. You have to pay the people who maintain the restrooms for the use of it. All right, here we have the duck boat, and we would like to rent a duck boat. Okay, so here we have rented a boat, and I guess it's 50 baht for 30 minutes. Okay. Now the basic boat rental is 50 baht, but you also have a 50 baht deposit, which you'll get back if you bring the boat back on time. So you'll need 100 baht to actually rent the boat. Okay, here we are out on the lake in a Suan boat, and the Suan boat has one head and the duck boats have two heads. Now we have a piece of bread with us, so at a strategic point here we're going to stop and see if there's any activity. However, I did see a fish roll right here to my right, which I guess would be Leo Claw. So here we go. Stop for a second. And maybe go just a little bit further here to get away from the other boats. Now, as far as the quality of this boat is concerned, I would kind of say it's a medium. Obviously, this is a fit-all, and a lot of Asian people are rather small in stature. I'm a Northern European ancestry, so I'm larger than the average Thai person, so it's a little uncomfortable for me, but not excessive. Aha, now whatever that was really big. So let's go ahead and drift and see if we can attract whatever that was. Now we got one piece of bread there floating on the surface. Now obviously a fish out here is not used to getting fed, so they'll have to kind of come up and discover it. And I do see some activity here, so let's see what happens. Aha, there it goes. There they go. They got it now. They discovered it now. They're eating it up. Look at them go. Yeah, it didn't take long, and that's not one fish either. There they go. Now, of course, they're discovered the bread, and they're expecting another one. So we won't disappoint them. I'll wait until they get the last little bit, and then here goes another. Yeah, so we have lots of fish here. Now these fish don't seem to be real big, but they're definitely very interested in that thread. Aha, there was the big one. Wow. He probably didn't want the bread, he ate one of the little ones. There we go. But that didn't faze them, they're back. Okay, so we did see the big one. Now, as I look at the quality of the water here, it looks pretty clean. No excessive algae bloom. Obviously, this is a fountain that's not functioning right now. And we had visited this park here about a month ago or so. And strangely enough, on that day, it also rained. And it looks like it's going to rain again. But the fountain was not functional, and they had, of course, the equipment out. So they're slowly working to maintain this lake. Now here we have the large recreation center, and we had walked around to the front of it, so they obviously have official functions and parties here. It's quite a spectacular building. We'll go up and walk around it, but extends out over here on the lake. Okay, we're drifting towards it right now, and we can see from the design it actually extends out over the lake, and that would probably be a real good place for fish to hang out. But unfortunately, we don't have any more bread. Alright, let's take a look here. We're going off to the right just a little, and we see a majestic fountain there in the distance. And we'll probably go up and walk around that one. And they have a beautiful array of flowers here, and of course in Thailand there is a 12-month growing season. And we're actually right here, probably 2/3 of the way through the monsoon, and there we just saw a large fish there roll up. And carp can get very large. That's probably what that was. Now I don't believe they allow fishing here in this lake, so these fish are definitely protected. They don't have to worry about being caught. Okay, here we're approaching the recreation center, and we can there examine the underside and see how these concrete pillars are supporting the patio area. The main building, much sturdier. Steel and concrete is one of the major construction materials here in Thailand. Now as I look at the water, here I'm getting a good look at it, there is a green algae bloom in it. And one advantage about catfish and carp is that they can live in very low oxygen water. So they can withstand very low oxygen water. So chances are, even if I have a high temperature and a low oxygen, our fish are going to survive. Okay, there we have one of our monitor lizards, and he has a big fish up there, and that gives you an idea how big those fish are. And that looks like a catfish. Well, are you videotaping this? Okay, here's our monitor lizard. Unfortunately, my wife is terrified of this monitor lizard. It's not an alligator. I don't think it's going to jump in the boat and bite us. I don't think it even's interested in fighting us for the fish. So it's going to let us have the fish. I think it's probably pretty full. But there's a second monitor lizard. So that's one of the things that lives here in this park, are monitor lizards. And that's a pretty good size one. And I think there's a little confusion. I think there were actually 2 monitor lizards, so that's the smaller one. And he probably has a nice home and a hiding place underneath the building. It's probably where he lives, right under there. The perfect hiding place. Well protected from predators. I'm just not paying attention, Luang. You were pointing and I was looking, and I didn't see the monitor lizard. I saw the fish first. It's pretty well camouflaged. I guess one of the things that the human mind is looking for through the eye is symmetry and movement. So he was in a profile where he didn't appear symmetrical and he wasn't moving. That really wasn't drawing my attention. Right, here we're going around the fountain. It's off right now. Now, so far today at the park, we have seen 2 large monitor lizards, possibly 3. I guess I did see 2 on the bank. One was on the bank and the other one apparently was there in the water. So 2 monitor lizards, maybe 3. And here we're going around this fountain, and we're suspecting that if a monitor lizard so chose and wanted to just relax outside the water, this would be a good place, because a predator could not approach him from the land, only from the water. And I suspect that the monitor lizard, especially that large one here, he doesn't have anything to worry about. And there we see, of course, a type of crane right there. Not too concerned about us. I guess one advantage if I'm a monitor lizard or a crane here in Thailand, the weather's always nice and there's always plenty of food. We see activity in the water, but don't really see any turtles or monitor lizards up on the, I guess the nozzles right there where the water would discharge. I guess floats for the nozzles. Now as we paddle this boat seems to feel a little easier to paddle than one that we had before. And I believe it's exactly the same design boat. This is not a new boat. Say this is probably a 20-year-old boat. It even leaks a little bit. Got some water coming in here on this side. As we come up to the dock, which side of the boat do we want to put up against the dock? I guess it really doesn't make any difference. Okay, here we are, coming back to the dock, and we had 30 minutes for 50 baht. And that's probably what, about $1.75? And we had a $1.75 deposit. So I suspect if you stay out more than 30 minutes, then they take some from your deposit. Okay, here we've turned in our Suan boat, and now we're looking at this little monument. I'm going to guess that's an aerator. Let's go up and take a look. Well, I can say this, I certainly don't need to water this grass. Yeah, that's right. It's a, looks like Patana Aerator sculpture is a token of appreciation for His Majesty's benevolence to the Thai people and in recognition of His Majesty's talent for an invention benefiting the country and the world community, as well as His Majesty's contribution to improving water resource management. Above all, the Chai Patana Aerator sculpture has been cast to celebrate the auspicious, and let's see, so here's a sculpture of an aerator, and obviously that would be very important for large populations of fish in a small pond. Now obviously the fountain out in the middle of the lake, that would certainly serve as an aerator. It's not functioning right now. Okay, so here we are, continuing our walk around the lake, and the clouds are getting dark and gray, so it looks like we may get soaked. Okay, that's one thing about Thailand, is that when it rains, it can really rain. Okay, we can get some water. Let's get some water going. Got one for you, one for me. Or we can share one. All right, cold water. 12 baht. Here we go. Khop kun mak, huh?